So, if you've benchered Jingliu since update 2.5 and have been looking forward to her buffs, I got news for you. First off, I'm going to get a brief summary of her changes because Hoyo does yap a lot. So I'm just going to put the changes up on the screen right now, and you can read it if you'd like. And if not, I'll summarize it later. You can also find all these changes on HomageCat, which is a website with all the leaks and stuff. So if you want to go in depth on your own time to read every change that she got, then you can do that. But I'll give you a few seconds to read. Bruh, 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 bruh. Hi, you read all that? Great. If you didn't, well, that's why you're here anyways. So to keep it a buck, she's now HP scaling. She has more uptime, which means she has more damage. And because her scaling is now HP related, her relics and teams have also changed. So starting off with her relics, you can either use the 4-piece Scholar or 4-piece Genius set, which you most likely already have if you've been playing Jingliu for a long time. Her chest piece will now be HP percent compared to her previous crit damage because her talent for some reason now gives her 220% crit damage for free, so we don't need to oversaturate on crit damage. And her boots will fortunately still be speed boots, so if you already have a good speed boot with some HP percent on it, you can probably keep it. Now for a 2-piece set, you can either use the 2-piece Rudolent like you did before, or swap to the 2-piece Bone Collection set. It honestly depends on which set you have better substats on, doesn't matter. You'll get similar results anyway. So down to her orb, I would still keep her orb ice percent, and her rope, you just gotta change that old attack percent rope to an HP percent one. So moving on to her substats, the obvious one is keep her speed at 134, so that she can ensure a 2-turn per cycle rotation. And then after that, you want to go for HP percent, then crit damage, and finally crit rate if you need it. Please double check your teammates as well as relic sets because some relic sets can give you some free crit rate as well as some teammates can as well. For example, Sunday giving 10% crit rate to your team. So now moving on to her teams, you can play her in 2 different styles. Her first style is what I would probably do is her hyper carry style, and her best team would be Sunday, Tribby, or Soberwolf, depending on what scenario you're facing. Silverwolf will probably be better in single target, while Tribby will be better in multi-target. And her last best teammate will be Hyacine. Moving on to her budget team, you can use Remembrance main character, Pella, and Gallagher. You can also use some older options such as Bronya, if you have her lying around that's well invested, and you'll do pretty well, but I do recommend rolling her premium hypercarry team if you choose to play that way. Moving on to her dual DPS compositions, you can use Casters or Blade alongside Jingliu, and their 2 supports will be Tribby and Hyacine. So, one support I want to emphasize is Hyacine. If you are planning to play the buffed version of Jingliu, I highly recommend you to roll Hyacine. Hyacine is essential to unlocking Jingliu's full kit, especially her light cone. So you can't just roll Hyacine E0 S0. I would really recommend you to roll that S1 copy of her light cone as well. This is because in Jingliu's talents, Jingliu requires her teammates to take 20 instances of damage, whether that's an enemy hit, Jingliu's drain, or the drain coming from Hyacine's light cone. This will help Jingliu reach her permanent uptime if you can get it that way. And the more stacks you can generate with that light cone's help means that she can trigger her A6 passive, which is a 25% defense ignore more often. So I highly recommend you rolling Hyacine at least E0S1 if you plan to play Jingliu long term. So for her light cones, her best in slot will be My Day's light cone, followed by her own light cone. And for budget options, you can use the Ninja Record light cone, which is an event light cone, or you can use Secret Vow, which you should have lying around. Now for the light cones, if you do have My Day or his light cone lying around, yeah, you can use it, but if you already own Jingliu's signature, I wouldn't recommend rolling My Day's light cone unless you have My Day or really like My Day. Like the damage increase isn't it's significant, but it isn't significant enough to where I can recommend another 160 pulls towards. But yeah, that's her light cone options. So it should be that's your light cone options, so you should be fine there. So for vertical investment, the first investment I would go for Jingliu is getting her Eidolon 1. Her Eidolon 1 has changed significantly in my opinion from her pre-buff state, where her new Eidolon 1 will give an unconditional damage bonus to the primary target, which is a really big damage boost if you ask me. After E1, I would go for the S1, whether it's My Day's cone or her own cone, you can choose. And then after that, she doesn't really have any significant self upgrades besides her E6. So knowing that, I think E1 S1 would be a great stopping point for players who want to invest into Jingliu. And after E1 S1, I think it is more efficient to invest in her supports such as Hyacine and Chirby. Especially that Hyacine signature light cone would be a great upgrade to have for a Jingliu team, as well as Hyacine's E1 and Chirby's E1 would be beneficial damage boosts. So moving on to my overall review, I think Jingliu after buffs is a good DPS, however she is very costly. Due to Jingliu requiring so many limited characters and light cones to perform well, I have a hard time recommending her to newer players. You'll still need her premium team to experience her full kit, meaning that you have to roll 4 other limiteds and a 1 to 2 other light cones. And you can get similar, if not better results by pulling a newer and cheaper DPS where you can clear the content in the game with only rolling for half the limiteds that you would need to roll for Jingliu. So I think she's good, but unless you really like her, I wouldn't recommend investing into her because she is very, very expensive. That aside, that concludes my thoughts for Jingliu's buffs. So I think I'll make multiple videos and probably mess around with how I format them for the other buff characters. But I hope you guys enjoyed 3.4 as it's going to be a very impactful and fun update. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one.